JD Vance back in Munich with a truth bomb in front of the Europeans who were reportedly just stunned in their seats, uncomfortable, shuffling. When it comes to free speech, which is, Europe has just been absolutely abysmal on, and immigration, which, take what I said about free speech times 10. So the sitting vice president of the United States goes over there. These are allies, yes, but man, he did not mince words. Here's a little of JD Vance in Munich yesterday.
Heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people. Europe faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump.
Jeez, sorry, that was earlier today, but it's amazing to hear him say it, no?
I think so. I think he has to basically set this agenda very, very clearly. The Europeans are going to be at the forefront of this next phase of very difficult decision making. I'll give you one example. The amount of rules and regulations that they make around climate change and the impact that it has economically all over the world, including domestically in their own countries. How are they going to deal with that now that, we have to recognize nothing the Europeans do actually has a meaningful impact on climate. Whether you agree with it or not agree with it, it's irrelevant. You need to look at China and India. That's where the whole game is played. So if you can't say that inside of Europe, inside of the borders of Europe, how will you ever change the rules? That's an example. A second example, there is not a single company that's getting started today that has a desire to locate an office directly inside of the UK or Europe. Why? Because the regulatory framework will now come and really go after you if they don't like a single thing that you're doing. So what now happens to the European economy? They get deprived of their chance of having some small modicum of technological supremacy. What do you think happens to those economies? So if you add all of these things up, it all goes back to the root cause that JD's identifying. If you can't say it, you can't fix it. And so they have to decide what page they're on.
And it's even worse than that, Chamath, if you think about the fact that they're not content to just have this regulation impact their citizens and to make unbelievably stupid decisions like the Germans turning off 3 of their remaining nuclear reactors and then building a pipeline from a dictator to buy oil directly from Russia. The French figured it out. They were 90% at the peak nuclear. Now they're about 60 and about 20% renewables. They're totally energy independent. The European Union wants to regulate American companies. We have companies like Adobe wanted to buy a tiny company called Figma for $10-20 billion. You know who stopped it? It was the Europeans. It was the UK.
It was the UK.
So they're going after our companies and what we're doing. My advice to those companies were, you know what? If you're Adobe or Figma, stop selling your product in the UK. Block the UK. It's a meaningless market. They're so deranged with the regulations. They want to have them apply to the rest of the world. And to Chamath's point,
Elon was battling this when it comes to free speech and X in Europe. And the free speech battle, it's a reminder of why we left England, why we as Americans said, you know what?
Reminder.
The most important thing to us, amendment number 1, is free speech. And they don't have it anymore. It's all but dead in Europe. There was a great Tablet magazine piece. I actually just pulled it in advance of today. And it's written by a guy named Paul de Quinoy. And he goes on about what just happened in Germany with this compact magazine and how there's a rule in Germany. There's a law that says that they can shut you down. They can shut your speech down if they think that it is inconsistent with their constitutional order, the constitutional order of their country. And so they went in, they think this is a, quote, far-right magazine because it supports this AFD party that is very anti-illegal immigration. And they went in, they have like 40,000 subscribers. They seized the offices, they basically took over control of the whole thing and shut it down from publishing. The thought of that happening in the United States, I mean, there would be a full revolt, I'd like to think. So he's speaking to the right audience there. They do need to hear it. And I'll just give you one more soundbite before I give it back to you. You mentioned their insane green energy commitment at the expense of their own people. JD tied that and the free speech together in SOT 30.
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. What no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered.
He's completely right. I'll give you an example of this. I've been to 10 Downing a couple of times. In the last 4 or 5 years, with all of the relationships that I've tried to build in Europe and in the UK, I think Greta Thunberg has met with more of the leaders there than I have, multiplied by like 10. Now, that's fine and good for Greta Thunberg, but I think the point is that there is just this incredible animated energy to wrap yourself around these moral ideals without questioning whether they were legitimate. And I don't exactly know why it happened or where it came from, but JD's right. If you need, at some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and course correct. And I think Europe's at that moment. America is at that moment.
Yes.
We're clearly doing it. And you can tell that they are just so viscerally concerned, and it really pushes against the grain of 20 or 30 years of embedded behavior. But I think Europeans are capable of it. They just need to figure out that it's existential as well for them.
I think they're starting to feel it, though, in the same way we reached our boiling point and reelected Trump. The woman, JD mentioned a different man who was arrested for praying outside of an abortion clinic. I remember this video. It's a woman. Her name was Isabel Vaughn Spruce. She was silently praying, guys, in her head. She's sitting there silently praying. They come over and say, "What are you praying in your head? What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm silently praying in my head outside of an abortion clinic." They're like, "You have to go." They arrested her. That's what it's come to across the pond in, a distant relative now of the United States. I don't think we can really even understand this. 4 years of crushing interest rates, runaway inflation, reckless government spending. Who's paying the price? You are. You might have bills stacking up, debt collectors on your back. It can get bad. Well, Done with Debt can be a way out. They've developed these new aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done with Debt stands between you and your bill collectors. They can go head to head with these guys, getting your balances reduced, interest rates slashed, and penalties stopped. They'll create a plan to end your debt fast and put more cash in your pocket every month. And right now, they're accepting new clients, but you need to act fast. Some credit relief programs expire. Consider a visit to Done with Debt right now before you make another payment, or call 1-888-322-1054 and speak with one of their relief strategists for free. donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.